Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. On this video, I'm going to go over a series of videos I've taken over the last week or so. I'm going to talk about the cam lubrication, the valve cover gasket, we're going to turn the engine over, and I'm going to go over the fuel system. So let's jump right into it. So this is engine assembly lube, typically used when you're putting a new engine together. Because I wiped down the camshaft and cleaned everything off, I wanted to make sure I put something on there that would stick. You know, regular oil would just run off. So the assembly lube will stick on there just in case it's a while before I can get this thing started. I picked up a new gasket at AutoZone. Obviously, I'm kidding. I had to make this out of pieces and parts. So I cut gasket material out of cork and made a gasket for this thing. So that is done. So that I'll be getting that on here before too long. All right, I've got the valve cover all put back on. Something really cool here is these little wing nuts on top here are all brass, so I kind of polished them up a little bit. Gave the studs a little bling. So that's done. Looks pretty good. All right, well, I'm sitting in the car. I just hooked up the battery. Didn't have any issues. You know, I've inspected the wiring harness pretty well, and anything that was suspect I've taped up. So I checked, and I do have power going to the starter. I have power going to everything else. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if the engine will turn over by pushing the start pedal. So here we go. Oh. Well, it turns over. Let's do it again. It turns over. The spark plugs are out, that's why it's turning over so easy. But at least I know it works. So I won't have to rebuild the starter. In the first video, I mentioned something about the shock system on this car. That shock system is called a stabulator. And when I was cleaning out the car, I found an actual diagram of what the stabulator is and how it operates. As you can see here, here's a diagram of what the inside of the thing looks like. And there's some other instructions here that I found. And I just found these under the front seat. Mice have had their way with a lot of this, but it's good information. All right, I was able to get the carburetor off the car, and there is what it looks like. It is a Zenith, looks like a SV5D, whatever that means. I wasn't able to find anything on the internet about it, so I don't know, they may not have put stuff on the internet back then. But anyway, so this is the float bowl here. That comes off, and inside here is the float. If I can get that out of there. That's the float, so it just sits in there. The float goes up against these then, and that's what closes. You see that there. Put that down. So the float rides right there like that, and then that's what, as the float goes up, it pushes that little rod down, which then closes off the fuel level. So I've got to disassemble some other parts on the carburetor. I don't want to disassemble it too far because I can't get parts for it. So really, I'm just going to take it apart just far enough to clean it, make sure there's no dirt in it, and then hopefully I'll be able to put it back on the car and it'll work. Interestingly enough, almost no fuel residue in this thing. So I'm not sure when this thing, if this carburetor ever even ran on this car, because there's definitely no fuel in there. Nothing dried up, nothing sticky or anything. So I should be able to just spray this out, take out the jets, which are on the bottom there. You can see those. It's like there's 4 there. I'll take those all out and I'll clean them out really good, blow through everything with carb cleaner and air, and then put it back on the car. Okay, the carburetor is all reassembled. There wasn't really anything bad inside there. It was just dirty. all of the gaskets and whatnot, they all were in decent shape, which is surprising, extremely surprising for the age of this thing. I cleaned up the mounting surface a little bit there. The gasket is still on the car and it's in really good shape, and it's completely flat, so I'll just reuse that. If I have any vacuum leaks there, I will just remake a gasket for it, which isn't any big deal, but I'd rather just put it on the way it is for now. Aside from that, it still looks a little dirty, but the big pieces are cleaned up. All the jets under here were all taken out, and one of them was plugged a little bit. I cleaned it up. All the bowl and everything's been cleaned up. I'll put these little adjusters back on after I get the nuts back on here. So it looks like it's gonna work. Everything looks clean in there. Hopefully the float works and everything operates as it should. We'll see. Well, there you have it. The carburetor is back on the car. The next order of business is going to be to remove and clean this, which is the vacuum fuel system, which is essentially like a fuel pump. However, it's not a pump. It uses the engine vacuum to draw fuel out of the tank into the reservoir here that then gravity feeds into the carburetor. So I don't know if I'll be able to get that thing operating. If nothing else, the goal will be to be able to put fuel in it so that I can at least get fuel to the carburetor through gravity feed. Oh, the fuel pump is off, and here's what it looks like. It is a STuTZ vacuum gasoline system. And so there is a sediment bowl that goes on the bottom right there, which I've already removed and cleaned. Unfortunately, it does have a crack in it. Hopefully that's sealed up with old gasoline or something. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to see if I can get another one or maybe repair that one. I got the screws out already on the top here, so I'm gonna get this thing popped apart and see what's inside. All right, so I'm getting ready to pop it apart. I hear dirt falling down in there, which probably isn't good. Well, that's what's inside this thing. Looks like some springs, a float, and that's what's inside this thing. So it looks like we have two different compartments, one for fuel to sit in there and then one for vacuum. So I do have a diagram on this thing, so I'll share a picture. Okay, I scraped this around here a little bit better. I cleaned out the inside a little bit, and this thing is loose and ready to come out. So let's see if it comes out. Okay, well, oh, there it is. Not sure how that works. It's got sort of a little reed of some sort there. And then obviously the valve flow goes down in the middle there. So I'll have to look into this and see if I can figure out exactly how this thing works. Ooh, that's ugly. There's what's inside this thing. It looks pretty rusty down in there. Well, there's a bunch of the junk that came out of that fuel system. Complete mess inside, but I think I got it pretty clean. So that's what the inside looks like now. Everything's cleaned up and it looks to be operating as it should. I'm sure that there's probably some little gaskets that are bad in here, but really at this point, all I need to do is to be able to put fuel in this thing to gravity feed to the carb. So that's it, and that's cleaned up enough to do that. I can prime that in the top with this little, using that little hole right, I'll take that little plug out, and then I'll put fuel in there, and then it'll gravity feed to the carb just to get it running. This probably will need rebuilt, but I can take that back off the car anytime. It's real simple. Now that I know what's in there, I can do that later. Only thing left to do now is to make up some gaskets for that. I'll need 2 of those gaskets, and then I need to make up a gasket for the sediment bowl. While I had all the tools out, I did go ahead and make up a new gasket for the distributor as well. Well, everything so far is really promising. I've got lots more videos coming, and hopefully we're gonna be able to get this thing started. Well, that's it for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep watching. Bye.